Have you ever stopped to think about what's really going on inside your muscles when you're working out? I mean, beyond just getting tired and sore. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the amazing science of how our muscles adapt and literally rebuild themselves after every single session. And this quote, man, it just nails it. Muscle tissue is some of the most adaptable tissue in the human body. It's so true, right? You can absolutely wreck your muscles in a workout, push them to their limit, and just a few days later, they're not just fixed, they're better, they're stronger. That's the magic we're diving into today. So the big question is, how? How do they actually get bigger and stronger and faster? Well, it's not some kind of magic trick. It's actually a series of really specific, really cool adaptations. And we're going to break down the 5 biggest ones, taking you all the way from the endurance of a marathoner to the crazy power of a top-level sprinter. Okay, so to really get a grip on this, you got to know that when we talk about fitness adaptations, we're basically talking about 2 different worlds. They're separate, but they work together. You've got your cardiovascular adaptations on one side. That's the big picture stuff. Your heart getting stronger, your lungs becoming more efficient. But for this explainer, we're going to zoom way in. We're focusing on the musculoskeletal side, all the nitty-gritty changes happening right there, inside the muscle itself. And here's the thing you have to remember. These adaptations aren't just separate little boxes you check off. Nope, they all live on a spectrum. Think of it like a roadmap for our journey today. We're going to start at one end and work our way all the way to the other, beginning with just being able to go the distance. All right, first stop on our tour, muscular endurance. This is really the bedrock, the foundation that lets your muscles just keep chugging along without giving up. I want you to picture a marathon runner's legs, or a cyclist powering up a long hill, or hey, even you, banging out a set of 20 or 30 push-ups. That right there, that's muscular endurance in action. It's all about being able to sustain that effort for a long, long time without hitting a wall. So how does your body actually build that endurance? Well, it's pretty brilliant. It zeroes in on your slow twitch muscle fibers. Then it starts building more mitochondria, the little power plants inside your cells. And it also builds a bigger network of capillaries to get more oxygen to the muscle. What you end up with is a muscle that's just a super efficient energy machine that flat out refuses to get tired. Okay, let's keep moving along that spectrum. What happens when we start adding more weight, more load? Well, we shift away from just pure endurance, and we step into the zone of getting bigger. We're talking about hypertrophy. Now, here's a super important distinction, and it's a common misconception. Hypertrophy, it's not about your body making new muscle fibers. No way. It's about taking the muscle fibers you've already got and just making them bigger, thicker, and stronger. And get this, it's not even that simple. There are actually 2 types of muscle growth. On one hand, you have myofibrillar hypertrophy. Think of this as making the muscle denser, growing the actual parts that contract and create force. This is your pure strength, powerlifter-style growth. Then, you've got sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. This is all about increasing the fluid and the fuel stored in the muscle, which adds sheer volume. This is what gives bodybuilders that classic pumped look. And yeah, you train for these 2 things in totally different ways, which is exactly why rep ranges are so critical. Which brings us perfectly to our next stop, pure, unadulterated strength. And here's where things get really interesting, because getting stronger isn't just about having bigger muscles. It's actually a skill. It's something your brain and your nervous system have to learn how to do. Check this out. So a motor unit is basically one nerve cell and all the muscle fibers it's in charge of. Now, if you pick up something light, your brain's like, just send in a few guys. It recruits a small number of motor units. But when you try to lift something really heavy, your brain starts screaming for backup, calling in every available motor unit to help out. Learning to do that, to recruit more fibers at once, is a massive part of getting stronger. So this explains how you can actually get way stronger without necessarily getting huge. How? Well, first, as we just saw, your nervous system just gets way better at its job. It becomes an expert at recruiting those motor units. Second, on a chemical level, your muscles get more efficient with calcium, which is crucial for making a contraction happen. And third, and this is wild, the actual protein bonds that do the pulling get physically stronger. It's like a complete hardware and software upgrade at the microscopic level. All right, we're now at the far end of our spectrum, the explosive end. This is where we take all that strength we've been building and we mix it with speed. And when you do that, you get power. The formula is super simple, but so important. Strength plus speed equals power. See, power isn't just about how much force you can generate, it's about how fast you can generate it. In the science world, they call this the rate of force development. And you see this kind of power all over the world of sports, right? Think about an Olympic weightlifter exploding from the floor, a sprinter bursting out of the starting blocks, a boxer landing a lightning-fast punch. All of those are just pure, beautiful expressions of power. Now, if you want to be more explosive, this next point is probably the single most important thing to remember. If you only train for strength, you'll end up strong but slow, and if you only train for speed, you'll be fast but pretty weak. To really unlock your power potential, you have got to train both sides of that equation. No shortcuts. Okay, we've come to our last adaptation, and in a way, it's the most important one, because it's the one that controls everything else we've just talked about. It's the brain-muscle connection. It's the master controller of the whole operation. We're talking about something called motor learning. This is basically your brain's process for getting better at, well, everything. Every single time you practice a movement, whether it's a heavy squat, a golf swing, heck, even typing on a keyboard, your cerebellum is in the background taking detailed notes. It's always trying to figure out, how can we make this smoother, more efficient, better for next time? And there's this amazing command chain that makes it all happen. First, your motor cortex up in the cerebrum says, okay, let's move. It sends the initial signal. Then your cerebellum jumps in. Think of it like a quality control manager, watching the movement as it happens and sending instant feedback to correct any mistakes. And finally, your muscles get those new, refined instructions and carry out a much smoother, more coordinated action. It's this beautiful feedback loop that just keeps getting better and better with every rep. You know that old saying, it's like riding a bike? Well, this is exactly what that means. It's your cerebellum taking that perfected movement pattern and saving it so deep in your subconscious that it becomes second nature. It's instinct. That's muscle memory, and it's why you don't have to sit there and think about every single tiny detail of a movement you've mastered. So I want to leave you with this one final thought. The next time you're working out, remember, you're not just training your biceps or your quads. You are actively programming your nervous system. Every rep you do is a line of code. Every set is a new lesson for your brain. So the real question is, what are you training your brain to do?